Hi homesteaders, my name is Melissa with Gullion Homestead and welcome to my channel where I focus on homesteading skills, self-sufficiency, and resilience. Today I've got a couple of projects I want to do in the kitchen and a couple of things I want to talk to you about. First being seed saving. So I am working in my kitchen this weekend doing some things that need to be accomplished in my garden. One of them is to start working on seed saving projects. And I will say that I've already been working on several things here that I'll show you. But this is the one that I'm doing from this morning. This morning we ate our last cantaloupe. We only got 2 cantaloupes out of our garden this year. And well, it was the first time we've actually done kind of cantaloupe. They were small, but they were perfect for Steve and I for empty nesters. It was just a small little cantaloupe, and both cantaloupes lasted us about 2 meals. So they were not very big, but they were so delicious. I will definitely be growing cantaloupe again because it just tasted so much better than the cantaloupe you get at the grocery store. Unless you can get a cantaloupe that's like super ripe, that's just how this was. But I went ahead and saved the seeds out of my cantaloupe. Finished that up and just poured it in this cute little strainer. Like I said, it's a cute little strainer. Just got this little strainer at Meijer. Love it. And I'm just letting it air dry for right now in this little strainer. I'm going to probably set it out on a plate, but I cleaned that really good. All I did was throw the inside of the cantaloupe in here and washed it through the water, and then just kind of pulled out the pulp that I could pull out, and it got pretty clean. And then I cleaned it again a little bit, just rinsed it really good so it was nice and clean. So these will eventually go on a paper plate like so, and then I'll put them in a little brown seed envelope for next season. So let's talk about what you can save and what you can't save when it comes to seed saving. So if it's a GMO, it's genetically modified seed, you cannot save that, and it will not, from what I've read, what I've researched this for a couple of years because I've been wanting to work on seed saving just because I want to save some money. And I mean, I'm throwing seeds away all the time. I mean, we all do, you know, cucumber seeds, and you're throwing away melon seeds and green beans and all kinds of things. And I just want to make sure that I'm doing the best thing for my budget and the best thing for self-sufficiency and resilience in my kitchen and in my home. This is what homesteading is about. And so for us, we're going to start doing some seed saving. And what I've researched is that the GMO seeds cannot be reused. So if you save those and reuse those, you're not going to get the same thing you got when you originally planted that. Now, the good thing for you is that most the seeds that you purchase are not GMO. So that's the good thing. Most GMO seeds are sold to big farmers, but what you get in the grocery store absolutely could be GMO. So it's going to be difficult to know for sure unless you purchase an organic product, an organic vegetable or fruit. It's going to be hard to know whether or not your cantaloupes are genetically modified or any of your other vegetables that you're buying are genetically modified. So if it was me, I probably would buy seeds from a reputable company. I would plant them myself, and then I would save seeds based on that. So it is great to save heirloom seeds. Heirlooms are my favorite, but genetically modified are a no-no. So cantaloupe is what we're working on right here. It's going to be sitting in my kitchen for a while and letting that dry out. And then these seeds right here are our zinnia seeds, and I am going to try to show you a close-up. They're drying very nicely. I will do a video on how to collect those seeds because it's kind of actually we could do it right now. It's actually a little bit of a process that I had to learn myself. So you can see right there are our seeds. They basically dry out, and when you pull them, you're going to have that little piece right there, that little seed right there. But I just happen to have some flowers right here in my kitchen. So let's pull one out and see if we can figure out how to do that together. Favorite zinnia plants that I have had in my garden, I had several of these. And if you wait until these totally die off, you're not going to be able to get the seeds. At least it's not worked for me. So all you're going to do is take your petal and you're going to pull it. That one didn't work. You're going to pull it right out of the base there, and you are going to get this little seed right there. So you're going to get that right there. And then I just let it dry on a plate, and then they'll be good to plant next year. So that's what I've read. That's what I've researched. I've not done these seeds before, but that's my plan. And I actually purchased these seeds myself and planted these from seed in my grow room and then transplanted them outside. And we've had some beautiful zinnias, beautiful collections of fresh flowers in the house this year. I will absolutely be doing that again. So the next project I'm going to show you will be jalapeno seeds. All right, and the jalapeno seeds have been a little tedious for me this year. I'm hoping that I'm doing it right. I think I am. But I have them on a paper plate or a paper towel. And they basically, when you pull the seeds out of a jalapeno, and these are jalapenos that I've grown myself, so I know they're good seeds. I have several different types of peppers out there, and we're going to do a pepper project here shortly for the freezer that I'm excited to share with you on this video today. But I wanted to talk about these seeds first. So these seeds, all I did was take the center out like this. That's like the middle of a jalapeno, and let it dry. Now there are still some seeds on there. This is still a little damp, but then I'm just going to basically flake the seeds with my fingernail off like this. There might be a better way of doing this, but this is what's working for me. Let me show you what the seeds on the paper towel dried up look like. Okay, now we're going to work on our pepper project. So these are peppers I've collected from my garden, and if you are, it's getting towards the end of the season, and if you have fewer things coming out of the garden, there's a good way that you can actually work to preserve these things as they're coming out. So let's just talk, for instance, last week I had a lot of green beans coming out of my arch trellis. We ended up with, I want to say 7 or 8, which was a lot for us because there's just 2 of us. So 7 or 8 quarts that we were able to can up last weekend. And this weekend, we have gotten about 1/3 of that in the past week. So we've cut our production down by 1/3, or 2/3 actually. We've cut our production down by 2/3 in the past week. So things are really starting to slow down in the garden. It makes me sad, but also it's not really worth me getting my pressure canner out or my water bath canner out for just the fewest things that we have coming out of the garden. So one of the things that I do this time of year with my vegetables is I either decide to use them fresh, or I decide to preserve them in a way that is not going to take a lot of effort. And today I'm going to talk to you about what you can do when you only have a handful of peppers coming out of your garden. What you can do to preserve these without pressure canning or water bath canning. Now, our green beans, what I'm doing right now is I'm eating those fresh. I made a soup last week that I shared with you guys, and that soup turned out great with the fresh green beans. I'm also blanching those green beans and throwing them in the freezer so we have those for fresh cooking. And so those are all like great ways to use the green beans that are coming out right now, because I'm just not interested in pressure canning 2 jars of green beans. I have 41, I thought it was 40, we've eaten some, so 41 jars of green beans. That will be a 2-year supply for us, so I'm not too concerned about getting more green beans out of the garden right now, considering my goal is just to make sure that we get through next garden season. And as it stands right now, based on what we used last year, I think we're good in the green bean area. Now the peppers, last year what I did is I did not have a good pepper production. My pepper production this year has been a little bit better, but still, in my opinion, not as good as I would like. So I'm going to do some different things next year with the peppers. I'll share that on the channel next spring, but my plan is not to put any peppers in the garden until at least June. I've always put them in around Mother's Day, and I feel like from some other YouTubers that I follow that maybe that's a bad idea moving forward. So I think that next year I'm going to put my peppers in a little bit later, maybe even after the garlic is pulled, because it's way hotter in our growing zone then, and I probably will get about as much or a better production as what I've already gotten. So, I mean, I really have not gotten the best production for how long they've been in the ground. But today what we're going to do is, I've got several different types of peppers here. I got them all out just so you guys could see them, but I have some chili peppers. I'll typically let these get red. I pulled some of them early. There's one that's red right there. And then I will cut those up, and sometimes I'll dehydrate them, or sometimes I'll just let them air dry. And then I'll just put them in a jar, and I can throw those in some chili or something later in the season. But I've got jalapenos here that are washed and clean, and they came out of the garden. I've got some jumbo jalapenos, and I have some medium-sized jalapenos. What I've decided to do with these jalapenos this year is, last year I bought from a local farmer all kinds of peppers. I froze all kinds of peppers, and I actually had way too many peppers that in the spring of this year I made hot sauce with those peppers. So we don't really need that many peppers, but I do love a jalapeno popper, and I love it at football season. And if we don't have fresh jalapenos coming out of the garden, I have to buy them from the grocery store. And if you know anything about me, I do not like to purchase things from the grocery store if I can help it. I really like to purchase from my local economy, or I like to grow it myself. So today what I'm going to do is, all I'm going to do is prep these jalapenos for some poppers during football season. Now we're getting ready to enter football season, but as it stands right now, I still have peppers coming out of the garden. So I'm not really prepared to do any poppers this week. We did poppers last week, but Steve loves a good popper, bacon wrapped popper, around the football season. He loves it, especially through the Super Bowl. So this might even be a Super Bowl food that we keep. And all I'm going to do is slice up my peppers like I would if I was going to make a popper, so that they're already prepared. Now I had a thought that I might can them this way because they would be cooked down a little bit, but honestly, that is probably not the best use of my pantry space, and my pantry is pretty full. If you have been watching me, you would know that my pantry is getting very full, and I'm struggling to find room for some things like this. So this will be just a perfect little project for me to have for the freezer. All right, so I've sliced up. Now, if you're going to slice up more than this, I would highly suggest that you use some type of glove, but I didn't have that many, so I decided not to use a glove. Now, what I'm going to do, the next thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to want to save these jalapeno seeds, because that is my plan, is to save as many seeds as possible. So I am just going to scoop out the center, which is what you would have to do for a popper. And I am going to place these. Whew, these poppers, they're strong, trust me. They are, it's like when I cook these, when I cook any salsa and use these, I feel like if I inhale any of it, then it is a killer on my lungs. So I'm just going to take these peppers, and I'm going to lay them out on a plate. You could lay them out on a cookie sheet. I actually have cheese that I just shredded that's on a cookie sheet in the freezer right now, so I can later preserve that up in the freezer. I like to freeze most of my stuff in sheets, and the reason for this is because then the stuff won't stick together. If this sticks together and then I go to take it out of the freezer and I don't want say I've got 20 jalapeno sliced poppers ready to go, but I only want 5 of them. Well, then I don't have to use all 20. I can just pull them out one by one because they're not frozen together. They've been frozen separately and then put in a bag. So here I have just a plate full of jalapeno slices. I'm going to stick this in the freezer. We'll be back here in a couple of hours. I'll let these sit in there a couple of hours, get nice and frozen. Now, I'm sure some of you are asking if you need to blanch these, because a lot of vegetables you're supposed to blanch before you freeze them. And the answer is no. I've done a lot of research on this, and that is not necessary. People put green peppers. You can do green peppers, orange peppers, jalapeno peppers, any kind of peppers in the freezer for reuse. I did this last season. It worked out great for us. I just kind of did too many because I was thinking that maybe I would want peppers in the freezer to make salsa. Well, we ended up not making any salsa through the winter because when I ran out of salsa, I just never really made any more. We just went on to the next thing in the pantry. So that's kind of how it works around here a lot of times. So peppers are completely safe to freeze raw like this without doing any blanching. All right, so I waited actually a couple of days to finish up my project. Got busy doing some other things, and now I have my jalapenos. You saw I just pulled out of the freezer. They're perfect. They're hard. I just put them on this little plate just to keep them from sticking together when I put them in the freezer. Now you can freeze these any way you would like. Last year I froze them in little plastic containers with a lid that I got off Amazon that were free, helped preserve things. It was a freezer safe container. Completely fine for you to do that. What I'm going to do today is use my food saver, and you could also use a freezer bag. That is absolutely okay as well. But I am just going to put these in my freezer bag, make sure that I label them, and then I am going to be good to have these for some kind of winter poppers this winter.